Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hive Doctor, your beekeeping mentor. Today I want to go over something I've been working on for a long time. I took a very common piece of beekeeping equipment, tweaked it a little bit, and now I'm officially patent pending on it. So stick around if you'd like to see what I did to the bottom board. Welcome back, beekeepers. So for some time now, like a few years, I've always wanted to come up with some sort of really cool invention that I could add to the world of beekeeping. Can't necessarily explain why, it's just this deep-seated feeling inside that I just wanted to do and accomplish. And so one day I was racking my brain about it and I thought, you know what, I've already got something. And in fact, I'd been using it on my bees for over a year when I thought of it. And it's this modification I made to the bottom board that helped streamline my work a lot more easily. So it was something that made it to where my work was more minimally invasive to my bees and more convenient for me to be able to have to do less work and running around during a dearth. So let's go ahead and cover what exactly it is that I've got, and those things will make sense. So as you can imagine, there's not much you could do to a bottom board. It pretty much just holds the colony. Everything sits on top of that. So first, I'll go over the things that you're already familiar with that this bottom board has, and then I'm going to show you what's different about it and sets it aside from all the other ones that you've seen. All right, so we're going to use the top of this colony as our tabletop today so I can display to you what I've got going on here. Now, this bottom board, the way it functions just like any other bottom board you've seen is that it's got a base that it sits on, it's got a raised lip to hold the box, and of course it's a screen bottom board, and we've all seen something like that. The reason I love screen bottom boards is because there's naturally going to be mite drop in your colony as bees groom themselves. And then any added pest management system that you've got going on with mites is going to cause them to drop as well. So this is just one of those ways that helps ensure that those little buggers are not going to crawl back up right into the colony again. So that's why I love screen bottom boards, and I recommend them to every beekeeper. I used to use solid bottom boards with the traditional entrances just as much as the rest of them, but no more. And of course, a quality bottom board is going to have something to where you can slide in a slider board from behind or so that you can shut off the bottom and during the colder months to keep that cool air from coming in and whipping those bees and making them cold. This is part of the reason why I call this the Hive regulator board. It helps me as a beekeeper to regulate temperature, help the bees regulate their own temperature, and it helps to regulate pest and disease management, mostly pests, not so much disease. But that's just what I call it. So before we get into any more details about what I've done to tweak this, I just want to tell you, this is officially patent pending. And not only is it that, but it's also patent protected. And that feels really good. I've had a handful of people support me financially in getting it to that point, and I thank each and every one of them that has given. And I still have a little bit of ways to go so I can upgrade my patent to a utility patent, and this will be completely covered by that point. If that's something you want to learn more about or donate, you can go to my spot fund link below. If you feel like giving, great, thank you very much. If not, that's cool too. You support me just by watching my YouTube videos. All right, so turning this upside down, you can see I've got two primary boards that this thing sits on to hold the weight of the colony, but it also lifts it up a little bit so I can have room for a notch for that slider board to slide in and out. Now there are screen bottom boards that don't have that slider board option. I would avoid those at any cost, even if you're not going to go with one of these when it becomes available on the market. But when you look for a screen bottom board, make sure that you can have that slat for the slider board. All right, so what makes this one different than the others? Well, this is the front. And as you notice, it's a solid raised lip. All the way around, I got a 3/4 inch lip that raises the box and holds it. This is the front of the hive. There's absolutely no traditional hive entrance, and I'll show you that in the works. Okay, so as you can see here, no way to come in and out by the bottom board like traditional bottom boards do. That's why, if you've seen my video on why I drill holes in my boxes, you can check that here after this video. I'll put a link up to it. That's why I drill these holes in my deep hive bodies, so that my bees have a way to come and go from. Now, why did I do that? Thanks for asking, I'll tell you. So I found myself having a difficult time getting around to all of my bees in all of my yards for 2 or 3 years in a row, and getting the entrance reducers on in time before the dearth. And so I would have a lot of robbing issues. And I tried other methods of a more permanent entrance reducer, but it just didn't work out. So this is what I came up with. This is a built-in entrance reducer. Now, I don't ever have to worry about getting around and putting entrance reducers on again in my entire beekeeping career. Now you may wonder, well, they don't have the traditional opening like a bottom board, regular bottom board does. Aren't they going to get hot? Well, that's why. That's what's so beautiful about having a screen bottom board. There is no chance of these girls getting too hot as long as it's a healthy colony and they can ventilate and keep the air flowing. In fact, since using this style bottom board now for 2 years, it has completely eliminated bearding. My colonies haven't bearded since I started using this style bottom board. And bearding, it tends to freak us out, especially beginner beekeepers. They see those bees hanging on the outside and they're like, oh no, my bees are about to swarm. But that's not the case. They're just simply relieving congestion at the end of the day. Because there's so many bees in a colony, they come out and hang on the front of the hive to relieve congestion in the brood nest so they can keep that at the right temperature for the developing brood. But it's nice because I haven't had to worry about bearding at all anymore. And these 3/4 inch or 7/8 inch holes, the bees love to come and go through those. In fact, that is what I see more in nature whenever I go to a call about an established colony in someone's tree, or even a wall. They're coming and going from tiny little entrances. And if you worry that, oh no, robber bees, can't they get in those holes? Well, yeah. But a colony is only going to be robbed if it's weak. Strong beehives naturally put guard bees at each hole. And these holes, no matter, even if I had 3 honey supers on top here, all those entrance holes added together still would not equal the opening of a traditional bottom board. So they've got less space to guard and it's easier to guard. Now let's look at what else makes this different. All right, so I've got this turned around in the sun so that you can see it. And you see this gap here. You might think, well, Hive Doctor, that's a hive entrance right there. But in fact, it is not. This is the back of the hive, and that is a feeding port for a Boardman feeder. Let's look at how it works. All right, so here's my Boardman feeder with the jar already on it. Slides right in, and the box keeps it in place. Not only that, but this 2-inch lip here helps to seat the Boardman feeder, and it never falls out. I've never had an issue with it falling out if my hives are angled at the right angle. But I can come along with a fresh jar, a clean jar, or come along and just take this one off, refill it with syrup, and put it right back on. Not only that, but since this is on the outside and in the back, I'm not walking in front of my hives where a Boardman feeder traditionally goes, and therefore getting in their traffic zone. I'm walking behind it out of the way, and I can see where the level of syrup is at. So I know if they're taking it, how fast, if they're not taking it, which of course would warrant inspection. If you're feeding syrup during a flow, that's the wrong time of year to be feeding anyways. First off, they're not going to take much of it. And second, you're adulterating your honey. You don't feed during a flow. You do want to feed probably during a dearth and in late fall, early winter, to make sure they have the right weight on them going into the winter time. And there's just the smallest little gap, so I can fit this in there. The gap is not even large enough for a bee to be able to come and go through. Why do I do it this way? Well, I'll tell you, because Boardman feeder is being designed and made for a traditional bottom board entrance feeder. It's simply right there. All the would-be robbers come to the entrance and they can smell this stuff right there at the entrance, and it's almost like inviting robbing to happen and to occur. When I feed my bees, I like to do it either from a top hive feeder or from the back here on the hive regulator board, because I only want that colony to get that feed. And this way, there's a lot less likely chance of robbers trying to get into the colony, because they're going to smell the syrup back here and they're going to try to find a way to get to it, but they won't be able to. They'll keep flying because they can smell it, but there's no way to get to it. And that way, they can fly back here all day if they want to, as long as they're not flying near the entrance of my colony and trying to rob them out. Okay, so what about when it comes to treating them with an oxalic acid vaporizer? Well, I'm glad you asked that question as well. So you could take this out, smoke the bees in there, and use a wand-style vaporizer, sliding it in. You just want to make sure that this width will fit that vaporizer, and then do your thing. Because you don't have a traditional bottom board entrance, there's not much to plug up. You could plug up the holes in the front if you wanted to help keep those vapors in. But also, I put the slider board in during an oxalic acid vaporization treatment to help keep the vapors in as well. And then I move on to the next hive, and I can accomplish 20 hives in probably about 10 minutes. Now, what if you have a nozzle style vaporizer? Well, I've got a hole here just for that, and I'll bring you so you can see it closer. All right, so here's the hole for the nozzle style vaporizer. So I'll put the nozzle in there, turn it over, and then the vaporizer will sit on this 2-inch lip as well. So I can go hands-free, treat the colony, and I can even do it while still having this in place. So it doesn't get in the way. I'm working at the back of the colony, minimally disturbing them instead of working at the front of their huge entrance like traditional bottom boards. Now, this jar here, it's empty. And I keep this on the colony as sort of a permanent fixture. It just keeps that port closed and my jars available for any time I need to feed. It's never gotten in my way, and it serves me well. And so there you pretty much have it. Now, is this a bottom board that's going to change the face of beekeeping as we know it? Probably not. It's just a little bit of tweaks to something that's already existed that we all use that has made my job so much easier and streamlined. Imagine not worrying about bearding, being able to feed your bees from the back, being able to treat your bees with an oxalic acid vaporizer from the back. And the most work that this bottom board requires is just drilling a few holes in the front of my colonies, and that's it. This minimizes the space for guard bees to have to worry about, and I've had way better results with no robbing. In fact, this last year I didn't see any robbing unless the colony had already died out, and then the robbers would come in and take everything. But it wasn't anyone picking on a live colony just because it was weaker. So right now, as of now, this is something that I build for myself. It's not in the manufacturing phase yet, but part of the Patent Services USA company that I've contracted with, as far as agreement-wise. It's neat to learn that I will have some people on my behalf looking for people that might want to manufacture this and sell it, pay me royalties, or just buy the patent, which would be awesome as well. But it's why I like beekeeping so much. It's a world full of inventive people, just like you. There's probably not a single beekeeper that hasn't thought, you know what, I think there's a better way to do this. So let me know if you've ever had any good ideas. Don't give me any details about it. Maybe just say what it would do, but be vague if in case you want to patent it yourself. It's crazy how we've got to do that with ideas these days, but at least we can do it. So thanks for watching The Hive Doctor. Tell your friends about me, and hope to see you guys in the next video.